Okay, yes, you can start the.
Yes, sir. We are on live, sir. You can go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Jayshree, you want me to kick off?
Yes, sir, you can start. You can start. It is live stream.
Thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good day, depending on where you're joining from. Thank you all for joining this session. And I would like to begin by thanking IIT Chennai and everybody who are part of this program to invite me to speak about data and AI in action at British Telecom and BT Group here. And massive thank you for inviting me. It's indeed my pleasure and an honor to be here and being able to kind of talk about what happens with data at BT. I'm the CIO at BT, and I'm responsible for everything that we do for our colleagues or employees, as people call it at times as well. I'm going to speak about data across BT Group and how it's used. I'm also joined by Gilbert, who works with me around the data as well. Gilbert, you want to say something? Just say hello to the team as well here. Hello to everybody here, Gilbert.
Sure. Yeah, Gilbert Osu, work for Jay, looking after data and AI across our corporate units division.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gilbert. So let me just go to the next slide and just talk about what I'm going to talk about today with you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about data and mission and the strategy at BT. And it's very important for us to understand the big picture. I just saw somebody saying no audio. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yeah, you are audible. Okay.
So yeah, I'm not going to watch the chat, but if somebody says not audible, please call out so that I'm able to, what we're going to talk about then after the mission and the strategy is to understand how are we driving the transformation? What actually forms the building blocks or the bricks for doing the transformation? And in that transformation, what are the foundations and how do we identify opportunity? How do we make data and AI work? And then, I'm going to speak about the evolving AI trends and being responsible by design, but more around the skills as well and the discussion as well, right? So if you can go to the next slide, please. Gilbert, I think you have to pick up a slide that I sent you in the mailbox this morning, Gilbert. Not this one, Gilbert. Gilbert, you there?
Sure. Let me do that. I haven't picked that up. Let me.
Sorry about that. Right?
No worries. Okay, I have seen that. Sorry about that.
While Gilbert is bringing up the slide, right? Let me quickly talk about BT Group in number. We are close to a 2-decade-old organization based out of United Kingdom. We have a big heritage. In fact, they say that the first microwave transmission that happened in the world happened from BT's premises and was sponsored by BT. And I'm talking about Marconi, who did the first microwave transmission. So we have a great heritage, cultural heritage. But then we have also evolved over a period of time to ensure that we keep relevant to our customers. And naturally, data and AI fits into this mold for us. Just in terms of numbers, our customers, we serve 50% of UK households, which is 30 million people. We serve 1 million plus business customers across 180 countries with a global operation. And we have a brand NPS of 22 plus. And we have a significant amount of visits, 1.2 billion visits on our app and website every year by our customers. These numbers are very significant, and that means that we create a wealth of data. Within BT Group, I'm part of digital at BT, which is responsible for the digital transformation of BT. And a very quick look at what is it digital in numbers that kind of serves its customers through the digital transformation. To the next slide, please. If you look at digital, we are 4,000 people and 13,000 partners who work with us to deliver to our customers that I spoke about in the previous slide. And 80% of our work is done by our partners. Annually, we spend 1.2 billion pounds per year which is translating into Indian currency would be close to a bill. I'm not going to take a guess on that now, but I'll leave it with you to 1.2 billion pounds a year. What is very important is we have 29 petabyte of data within our company. And that is a treasure trove. And what I'm going to speak today is about how do we take that 29 petabyte and make meaning out of it for our customers and make value out of it. So on to the next one, please. To do this, we have defined our strategy. We are a telco today. And AI and data is a key part of our transformation from a telco into a telco. We sell connectivity products like mobile phone, but we are moving over from connectivity to digital solutions. Rather than just focusing on products, we are building platforms that can be reused on any products that we sell. And there's a lot I can talk about, but what you see is today, the differentiator is our network. And in the future, it will be our network coupled with the best digital and an insight-led solution. The reason why I'm sharing all this with you is to say, how does data fit into at a corporate level and in the roles that you are going to play in the future as practitioners of this field? Let me now move on and talk about a little bit about our strategy at BT with data. Our mission is to radically and safely drive pounds per petabyte. The P per P is a very important concept for us. For every petabyte, how much pounds can we drive? Now, everybody talks about data and AI, and we know about it. It's like the in thing that everybody speaks about. But to make it work, we are really talking about 4 pillars of it. We got to fix the foundations. We got to accelerate onto the cloud. We need to do AI at scale. And it's also about people and culture. Let's not forget, people and culture is at the core of everything that we do from a data and AI perspective. And I will speak a little bit about each one of them. From a people and a culture perspective, we have a large team, as you saw it, but it's about reskilling, retaining, and recruiting the people is an essential part of it. And this is so important that if we get this wrong, and that's why it's the bedrock of everything. And I'll speak a little bit about culture and the mindset that we require to transform a company into a data-led corporation. Accelerate value delivery, use of cloud, but at the same time, how do we get to an outcome and a productionization in few days and weeks and not months? Now, when you look at most large corporations, the concept to actually seeing the light of the day can take few months or even sometimes years. And this is where we got to drive AI at scale to drive that from POC to production and finally fix the foundation. This may look very boring to most people, and as practitioners, they can come in the way, but securing the data, who has access to what data? And this is not about bad actors having access, but within the organizations also, there are access controls around data. There's encryption at rest. If you have a credit card number, you need to ensure that it is PCI compliant when it's stored, wherever it is stored, and at every place it is stored. The GDPR requirements, it's so much to get it right before you can actually exploit the data. And fixing the foundation is an equally essential part of this strategy. So what does that mean in terms of me as a practitioner? I'm very quickly going to get to the practitioner's part of it as well in terms of what does it mean. So on to the next slide, please. Now, when you start practicing it, you're moving from a data lake to an AI-powered data platform. So, back probably 5 to 8 years back, people started creating data lakes. That means let's bring all the data into a common place and we can exploit it. That gave incremental benefit, but soon the data lake became so polluted that basically the value realization and the outcome became a challenge because the output is only as good as the data and the quality of data. And with the data lakes, the quality of data degraded. And when that degradation happened, you basically did not get meaningful insights out of it. And that's where we're talking about a data platform the data that people can ruthlessly focus on value realization and outcomes. And this is on the back of establishing a scaled MLOps platform, focusing on the security and giving the tools in the hands of the people so that they have the right tools to exploit the data and thereby have that ability to produce insight at will in their own hand. And this basically will lead to kind of, an AI POC to a production in 6 days, and that's what it's an incredibly fast-paced world, incredibly challenging environment around data, and data is being the differentiator. Everybody's trying to do that. And that's why build in-house critical skills to develop a strategic solution and an outcome is essential. And I'm extremely pleased that IIT Chennai is running this BS program in data science, which will kind of, meet the requirements of the industry, specifically around data science and the skills that is required to be done in-house. Moving on to the next slide, please. This is a very interesting workflow, I would say, that how do you get from ideation to a production in few days and not a few months? Now, this may sound very simple, but if you think about any AI or a data use case, it's about data, talent, and an environment availability to process and crunch that data. Now, a lot of times, data scientists struggle in terms of being able to get the data, or you don't even have good data scientists in the company. And if you had both data and the scientist in the company, you don't have an environment that is fit for purpose for you to actually make sense out of the data and derive test hypothesis. So by using templating and process improvement and building a data platform, not the lake, what we do is you are able to experiment with the data, introspect the data, and test the hypothesis in few days, and then soon be able to productionize it from weeks to hours, and then it goes into an auto maintenance mode. So this process is about data, talent, and the environment. And by bringing the three together at a scale, we are able to do that. And with that, I'm going to talk about some of the use cases that we have done with this kind of approach. Moving on to the next slide, right? So we use this across multiple parts of our business. I've just pulled out a few examples of in contact centers, we used to route customers to the most appropriate agent. And thereby it reduces our call time. In terms of our digital assistant, Amy uses this to reduce the calls to the contact center, but more importantly for our customers, they're able to get response faster and they feel in control. And then we are also a network company, an AI-powered predictive maintenance of our cell towers. Just imagine that if we know about a failure 4 hours before the actual failure happens, we have an opportunity to dispatch an engineer to the radio site, get it fixed even before the customer feels a pinch of it. And we are doing all of this using the vast 29 petabyte of data that we have within the company and using that to kind of drive that. On to the next slide, please. Very busy slide. I'm not going to talk through this, but what it gives you is that we are building use cases that are for our own people, that are for our customers and new revenue, and something that's into the future where we're talking about computer vision platform and language platforms. And you all know about, the LLMs in the market. I don't need to speak about ChatGPTs and the Brads of the world with you. That has just changed the world phenomenally. And we are also kind of on it and looking at how do we kind of make value out of it in a safe and a secure way. If you move to the next slide, please. So this is the slide I'm sure you wanted to see about what are we doing. There's lots happening. Maybe at some point of time, we'll come and talk about how we are using some of this technology. Next, please. So what does it mean for you as practitioners, right? What are the technical skills that we look for, and what the industry looks for is, there's a combination of technical and non-technical skills. And I'm going to spend a little bit of more time talking about this here. It's about gathering and analyzing data for effective decision making, which I'm sure you know what it means really. But how do you get the right data set? How do you get data set that is representative of the decisions that you need to make or the data that is going to come in the future? You have your own programming and coding knowledge. Absolutely, you know it very well. Analytics platform to create data visualization and dashboard, because if the platform, if the visualization is not, visualization is a great powerful tool. And if you don't have a great visualization platform, all the insight and the analysis that you do may not really produce outcomes that you want. And a statistical modeling to test the hypothesis. So I bet you know very well about the technical skills because you are all practitioner of it and you use that in learn that over the last few years as a part of the program at IIT Chennai. But then there is an absolutely balancing non-technical skills that you require to be successful in this space. And that's about critical thinking. This is where you're questioning the stereotype. You're questioning that this seems to be too good to be true. Being able to differentiate between signal and noise, and then go back and test the data. Tweak those control parameters to see what does it mean if I change some of that. And that critical thinking is so necessary to be a successful data scientist. And that's something that we really look for. Well, communication, I need to say no more about it. The best thing in our brain, best thing in the brain, badly communicated, is not as powerful as an average thing in your brain communicated so effectively. So, I need not say any more about communication. Along with critical thinking, it's that whole intellectual curiosity with a desire to kind of understand why, what's happening and how it's happening. And the last two P's, which is commercial awareness, is the bigger picture about what does it mean for my customer? Why am I doing this? How will this make sense for the customer? But at the same time, how will we make value creation for the company as well? So, it's just not about technical skills, but understanding the commercials of it. Sometimes what we have found is that the compute time that is required to produce a result will be significantly expensive compared to the benefit that we get. So from an engineering perspective, it's a marvel. And one of the great examples that I've heard about it in the past is that some of the telcos in the past basically said the cost of doing a bill calculation for every call that people made and the compute that they have to use for it outnumbers the benefit of going a flat scale, one flat rate. So basically, I could charge you for every call you make, or I can charge you for every minute you use, or we say you pay 20x or 20 or 30 or 100 per month, and make as many calls as possible. And that's exactly where, with the commercial awareness, using the data and what is the average that you get, everybody pays to you, you average it out and make a commercial product. And then finally, attention to details, because sometimes the nuggets of gold are hidden deep inside, and you really need to look for the details in that. So these are the non-technical skills. I see some of the questions are coming. I have kept a lot of time for questions as well. But I spoke about the people and the culture. And at the heart of that culture is a data and an AI first mindset. And this is not just within the data science fraternity, but across the entire organization. It starts from the leadership, from the top, and to drive that all the way to the impacted user training on the other side of it, because people need to see the value of the data. And to do that, there is a massive amount of change readiness assessment in terms of, is the organization ready? Are the users of the data ready for it? To the stakeholders whose data you're going to use and you're going to communicate, and the whole change and the communication to the user. So if you look at it, the data and the AI first mindset needs to bring the entire organization onto this journey. And that's a culture that has to be created of AI and data first. And finally, to my last two slides, to keep enough times for questions here, is, what do we look for? The competencies that are required for what do we look as a company? And I'm sure every other company that's looking at hiring people in this space will have a similar list. Could be some differences, but of course the non-technical skills that I spoke about. But I'm not going to read through it, each one of them. I'm going to leave it here for a minute where you look at it. But what you really see is an end-to-end ability to kind of see through the details, see through the technology, the scripts, and the underlying technology and the DevOps along with SRE to ensure that you are fundamentally creating a value from the data for the organization. And the last one, please, next slide. Finally, what do we use for cloud computing? We use AWS and Google Cloud Platform. We predominantly, all our AI and data and AI work happens on GCP. In terms of the big data processing frameworks, Hadoop and Spark lead the way for us. Docker and Kubernetes that we use for our containerization and orchestration for us. Integration is Nifi Talent and Ab Initio has the data integration tools. Kafka, Apache Spark, Flink for real-time data processing, streaming data. For data governance and security, Collibra, and from a machine learning, PyTorch, TensorFlow, etc. Look, this is not a full list of tech that we use, but this gives you a sense of what we use, which will be pretty similar to what you will be learning and using in your current role as practitioner of it. But look, data in summary, at BT Group, we formed the data and AI teams 18 months back. What we did was the data in an organization is fragmented all around the company. We brought them together. What we're doing here is kind of driving a disproportionate amount of value out of the 29 petabyte of data that we have using the modern technologies. Data is a mind and a heart game. It's mind about making sense out of data, but also winning the hearts of the people so that they're able to use the data and drive the transformation in the business. And data is the differentiator in today's world as well. So with that, I am going to go into questions because what I wanted to do was spend a lot more of time on questions and just do this as a preamble for you to then ask us questions. So back to the coordinating team for how you want to take the question. Between me and Gilbert, we'll pick up the questions. Gilbert, we can stop sharing as well. We don't need to.
Sure.
People can see all of us.
Hi, Jay. So I had a question, like what are the use cases that you have solved using machine learning, practical aspects?
Okay. So you want some examples of use cases that you solved. Okay, I'll probably start with one, Gilbert. I'll talk about the FSL use case, and we can, if there are more questions, we'll pick up other one. But so we have. So we are a telco, and we also have what is called as a supply chain system that keeps spare parts. So you have mobile network, you need spares for mobile network. We have a fiber network, you need spares for fiber network. Either you can go for a centralized warehouse and everything gets shipped from the centralized warehouse. What that creates is it creates economies of scale. So you pay less rental and you have less inventory to manage because it is an efficient use of inventory. The flip side of it is that you end up in a large repair time takes longer because it still takes a lot of time for the spare part to reach to the point of failure where it needs to be deployed. So the other option is that you keep the stores closer to the failure point. So we call them as FSLs, forward store locations, which are closer to the failure points. The more forward FSLs you have, the most shortest distance or the shortest time it takes for you to get the parts there. The flip side of it is you end up spending a lot more in terms of inventory because you need to replicate the inventory at multiple forward store locations and you spend on rental. So if you look at it, one is extremely efficient from an inventory and a real estate cost, and the other one is extremely inefficient because of the other end of the spectrum is that every failure point, you keep every equipment, basically. So it's like co-located where you are. So now how do you find the balance between the two? And this is one example where using the simulation and the modeling, we were able to identify what is the minimal number. So use the geospatial thing, use the travel time data, use the failure rates of inventory, that what inventory is needed the most, and how can we optimize on a working capital level so that we can decide how many store locations we genuinely need, and thereby have a model that helped us identify the number of stores. In our case, we had more stores, forward store location, we reduce them from what we had by using this model and being able to do that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I was on mute. Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
As I said, if there are questions on the chat, if moderators, if you can pick it up, that would be helpful.
Sir, hello. Hello. Hello.
Yeah,
Sir,
we can hear you. Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, sir. So, is cost of implementing AI is negligible to the value it created?
Should
Sorry.
I pick that up?
Yeah,
So the cost. Sorry.
Go ahead, Gilbert.
No, for us, as Jay mentioned, we view the use of AI as part of a toolkit within a wider transformational endeavor. So the starting point is to be able to clearly articulate the business value, okay, of the capabilities. And Jay talked about business acumen, because without doing that, having a sound business case, we wouldn't be able to surface the benefits versus the efforts. And of course, they're always competing demand. So we clearly need to articulate the business value. Either it's helping to reduce costs, or there will be an uplift in revenue, or there will be an uplift on customer experience, or it could mean that we are adhering to some of our regulatory commitments. Okay, so these two needs to be clearly articulated. Then we work backwards from there. How best do we gather the data? Which models do we use? We use GCP and Vertex AI to leverage the AI models in there. So how best do you go about engineering? But the starting point is always commercial. Okay, that it's how we go about doing this.
Thanks. Yeah.
We have few questions in the chat. So shall I ask the question?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Critical thinking does require business knowledge. Depend on business solution will different according to requirements for problem, same problem.
Yes, so absolutely. So I think critical thinking is also domain specific as well. So if you are into the domain of and along with business acumen, if you're into the domain of oil industry, it's a different level of critical thinking that is required that's specific to the oil industry. So you need to plug in domain along with critical thinking. Critical thinking as a skill is kind of portable across domains when you kind of contextualize it along with the domain or the business that we are operating in. So, it's a combination of domain along with commercial acumen and the critical thinking. When you bring the three together, you're able to kind of produce output. And as Gilbert said, end of the day, the purpose of data is to maximize the value creation for our customers.
Okay, Jay. That's Akash. I hope you got the answer for the question. So here is the next question. Do you use AI features for orders creation in your Cybele CRM telecom apps in order to improve customer experience?
Could you elaborate? I'll be good to understand what is meant by that question a little bit. Do I use AI in order creation too?
Order creation in your Cybele CRM telecom apps in order to improve customer experience.
Yes. Gilbert, you want to talk about the CX and the journey modelings that we do, Gilbert, or I can talk about that?
Yep. So yes, we do use AI. Feature engineering is a key part of any machine learning undertaking. So for us, it's more to be able to predict churn. So that's one of the key use cases that always looking at how we can better understand the experiences of the customer. So I'll give you an example. We realized that some of our customers in one part of our business were leaving us. So what we and not paying on time. So one of the things we did was to, instead of focus on just the payment bit, we looked at the experience, and it was clear that in some cases they had bad experience. That's why they decided not to pay. Okay, so combining, Jay mentioned gathering all the data into one place, making sure that we have a holistic view of the customer interaction. So right from acquisition through to onboarding, monitoring the services that we offer them, and then being able to proactively spot any sort of discontent that they may have with a view of preventing churn. Okay, so we do use quite a lot of machine learning models in that space, and features there would be, you'll be looking at the number of times that they have called us to get things fixed, and we'll look at their payment history, and we'll look at their line, whether if it's a fixed line or the mobile, the experiences that we are offering there, and get a holistic view of their interaction with us to be able to serve them better.
Yes. Okay. So Harishankar, I hope you got the answer for your question. So here is the next question. With the advent of 5G, 6G, and eventual usage of quantum computing, what do you perceive will become the dominant or upcoming vertical for a telecom giant such as yours, and how will data and AI be leveraged to at the end?
Yeah, I know it's a brilliant question, and I think if you look at it, we also have our innovation arm called Acharya, which is a startup that we have incubated within BT Group. And what Acharya is looking for is that exactly leverages this around drone technology, around health tech, and around fintech. So let me talk about some of the stuff around the health tech part of it. With 5G and 6G and the quantum, and AI is integral to this. What we are really looking at it is how can we diagnose a problem that a patient has while they're even getting transported to the hospital in their ambulance. Or do they really need to be transported, or can they be treated at home? And that itself creates an enormous value, because that reduces the load onto our hospital system, and thereby people, it's not just about bringing fewer people to the hospital, but once they come in, they absolutely get the treatment right there and don't have to wait for the treatment to start, because the diagnosis and the process starts. And this is linked to and this is a play of data and AI, but at the same time 5G technology as well. Gilbert, you want to add something more to that?
Yeah, I think for us, 5G, 6G would lead to the proliferation of IoT devices. Okay, so as a telco, that would basically generate more data. Yeah, and that is good for us, because we'll be able to the earlier, I think related to the earlier question, capture more data about our customers to understand how they interact with us, so that we can better serve them, whether in the home or outside of the home. So yeah, to your point, Jay, we're looking at, of course, how we can leverage this externally, build propositions around that. But there'll be more data. Okay, with the advent of 5G, there'll be more data for us to be able to build products and propositions.
And pounds per petabyte scale for this.
Absolutely, yeah.
Pounds per petabyte.
Okay, here's the next question. Does all the data related work is done in-house or outsourced? If in-house, then how big is the team and how team is structured in terms of workflow, validation, implementation? Yeah.
We do combination of both. One of the things is what we know is that core of the work that we do has to be done in-house. But then in this market, we got to go where the talent is, and then we also leverage our partner ecosystem. So to answer to your first question, what we look for is where is the best talent available? Where can we get them? What is the time to market? And use the combination of two to kind of make the best squads that will work on this one. Now, with this approach of squad-based working, we really empower our squads to make the decision and own it. So all the steps that you're speaking about, the squad is starting with what is the hypothesis, what is the testing I need to do, all the way to testing it and productionizing it. So it's the empowered squad which has people from not just technology people, but business people and the UI UX or ethical. We also need to test around the ethic. What we're doing is ethically right thing to do. All of that people are in that squad and working towards the outcome.
Okay, thanks for answering this question. Next question is, how do you envision leveraging AI to stay competitive and meet evolving customer demands and expectation in telecom industry?
Yeah, that's what every day we get up and come to the office and say, what is it new stuff we can do so that we can wow our customer? And AI and data is the core of it. Data-driven decisions gives us a good insight, because we can ask few customers, which is important to do, but data gives us the analysis and the patterns across all our customers. So I think it's no longer a choice that do I use data or not use data. It's about how do I use data and how best can I use data, and the talent, the tools and the talent and the platform is at the core of making that differentiate for the companies.
Okay, so here's the next question. As AI and data-driven techniques are increasingly used by companies to gain competitive advantages, do you believe that there is a limit to what we can achieve achieved through these methods, or do you see limitless possibilities for their application? What's your view on this as an industry leader?
The question cracked a little bit for me. Gilbert, did you pick that up? I'm just going to read that on the chat.
Okay, yeah. Do we believe that there is a limit? There is, of course, there are limits, and Jay touched on some of those. One of them is to do with making sure that these models are implemented and utilized in a fair way. So these are fairly known problems with existing machine learning models. So the ethical use of the data, especially when it comes to procuring, off-the-shelf systems, okay, because at the end of the day, we will be delivering those to our customers. So how do we make sure that we have assurances around the ethical considerations? Okay, is it treating, is it fair? Biases related to the data and even the models. One of the key concerns within the UK in response to what is happening, and I believe across the world, to what is happening to LLMs, large language models. These are predominantly being built by the US. So the concern there, it's going to be biased towards data primarily from the US. What happens to the UK? What happens to India? So these are concerns that we need to factor in. We are a global company, Jay mentioned. So how do we make sure that we factor in all these facets when we are delivering services to our customers? But our view within BT is that there will always be the human in the loop. Okay, you can't fully automate everything. So we do make sure that, yes, we make room for humans to have the final say on decisions. Yeah.
Yes, and thanks for answering the question, Gilbert. So next question is, what are the tools of AI integrate in DevOps for getting solution? Do we need hand-on on these tools?
Yeah, so for us, in terms of tools, we use Git. Okay, we use Python. Yeah, we do. Of course, I mentioned the Vertex AI that we have there. So we make use of these tools as well. And yeah, standard coding environments. I mean, of course, Docker for for orchestration and containerization. And then when it comes to visualization, whether it's Click, Tableau, and all that. So there are a host of tools. I think there was a slide that Jay was sharing on top of highlighting some of the tools that we used.
And the DevOps is an integral part of this in terms of Ansible, because the data pipeline has to be uninterrupted. And therefore, having an understanding of the DevOps tool, how to use them to create an uninterrupted data, or the streaming that happens when it is a streaming data that we're bringing in for decision making is essential. And models change quite often, because as we learn, the models keep improving by itself, and there's ongoing work. So again, the whole change has to be as much untouched by human as possible, unless it has to be touched by humans for a certain purpose. So absolutely, it is an essential part of the learning.
Okay, so next question. With the increase in amount of data gathering, how does BT deals with data privacy?
Yes, I think that's $1 million question, right? I'm like, the best well-organized data is what you can then exploit that data. So what we have created is a data model. So there's a layer of data model which ensures that every data, be it from legacy or strategic, and somebody did ask this other question around legacy, is converted into that common model for then people to exploit that model. So and this is where you bring in the data quality tools that are constantly watching the quality of data that is coming into your data platforms, and raise a flag if there is a data quality degradation, because a data quality degradation manifests multiple folds in terms of false outcomes in your model. And having the right data quality, a reliable data pipeline, and a monitoring on it to kind of ensure that your data platforms have the right data with the right model for people to exploit it. And that is very critical, as much critical as it is to have the right data scientists who can exploit the data. It's the data engineers who can create those models and make that available, reliable with the right data quality.
Okay. So another question. How is BT's OTT platform improvised using data compared to other competitors? Please share your thoughts with an example, if any.
We actually work with a lot of OTT players like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and others, which are kind of provided as a bolt-on product. I think it will be probably not appropriate to talk about how that whole thing works internally. But we do work with a lot of OTT players to drive the traffic towards their platform and support them and work with them collaboratively.
Okay, thanks for answering the question. So that's it. Any other question? Here's the question for Gilbert. Hello, Gilbert. How to use the AI for mechanical system fault mechanical system for fault detection and analysis. Please share your opinion.
Okay, so within our network, a key part of what we do is to be able to detect faults, and for us, it's detecting anomalies. Okay, so what we do is we have instrumented the network capture signals data, okay, and have anomaly detection models which flag outliers. And there is a control center, command center, where they see these anomalies being flashed on the screen, and then they respond proactively. Okay. In some cases, weather impacts the faults that we get. So repair, when it rains, for example, we see an increase in faults. So what we do is incorporate external weather feeds, okay, using historical data as well, to be able to predict potential faults that may arise. So it's a combination of both, okay, in live monitoring to spot anomalies, and then of course proactively predicting faults that might occur in our network.
Okay, that's it. Anyone have any other questions to ask? Is there any internship program at BT?
Hi,
Yes.
everyone. Hi, Jay. Sorry, I joined a little late. Hi, everyone. I'll
Hi,
just
Vidisha.
quickly introduce myself. My name is Vidisha Kaul, and I take care of the campus program for BT India. Sorry, I joined a little late and I wasn't able to speak in between. First of all, thank you so much for joining in. I think this is the first interaction we at BT are having with your campus, and I think great questions. I think the crowd was really energetic, and it really shows the kind of passion you all have, when it comes to the subject like data and ANI. In terms of the internship opportunities, so we do have a flagship program, which is for graduate engineering interns, which has just recently started. So this year we had our second batch that joined, and next year again we will be going out and hiring, passionate engineers for our organization. So we will be reaching out to your campus, as and when the season begins. So it's there.
Sure, sure. Thank
Thanks.
you, Vidisha.
I think we are on time. What I would like to do is, if we can wrap up, I think there are no more questions now. Can I say a massive thank you to IIT Chennai, and thank you all for joining. I hope what we have shared with you, and I fully appreciate that it was a rapid fire on the transformation. It was a rapid fire on tools and technologies. What we wanted to do is to provoke this conversation and the questions, and which I absolutely appreciated. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I also wanted to thank, Gilbert, thanks for joining in and taking some difficult questions that I could not answer. And thank you, Vidisha, for coordinating this. But look, it's been lovely to talk to this group, and look forward to seeing some of you, and good luck with your journeys as well.
Brilliant.
Great. Thank you, Jay and Gilbert, for the wonderful session and for patiently answering our students' question. And meet you in the next session if time permits.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mahesh, you can stop the live.
Jayashree will drop off, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Jayashree will drop off, yeah? Okay.
Yes, yes, you can drop off.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Mahesh, you can stop the live.
Oh, okay, JC, I will stop this.